It's Tuesday. I hope you all are having a wonderful week so far. Today we're going to be in John chapter 1. So if you have a Bible, I encourage you, go ahead and turn there. We'll get there in just a minute. We're going to build on this idea of God's love driving him to come and be with his people. Okay, we looked at that this Sunday with the tabernacle and kind of its finishing, commissioning, whatever you'd like to call it. And today we're going to be looking at that in the context of Jesus coming to the earth. But I want you to imagine with me for a moment, to give us some context. Imagine that you live in a palace with all the nicest things, and that you have people to take care of things for you, and life is good. Okay, get that picture in your mind. Be kind of nice, right? And now I want you to think about, would you give all of that up voluntarily and go live on the street somewhere? Now I ask this because this is essentially what Jesus does for us. He gives up the glory and splendor of heaven to come and dwell on this earth that is so broken. You see, heaven's a place of peace, a place of light, a place void, absent of all the struggles of the earth. And the earth is full of sin and death and grief and sorrow and loss. And the list goes on and on and on. Jesus gives up that glory and comes to be on earth with us. Let's read together in John chapter 1, starting in verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was the life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. Now skip to verse 14. And the Word became flesh, and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. You see, for many of us, the idea that Jesus would leave the glory and splendor of heaven and come to dwell with us here on this earth has become commonplace thought. It has no real weight or significance in our hearts anymore. And so what I want to encourage you today is to take some time to think about the fact that Jesus Christ left the glory and splendor of heaven. He came, he lived a human life. He was tempted, he was tested, he was tried just like you and I are. And he lived a perfect life. And then, at the end of it, he offered himself up as a sacrifice, an ultimate sacrifice, once and for all, to wipe out the sins of humanity, to cover them. He did that for you and me. And then 3 days after his death, he rose from the grave and conquered the power of sin and death forever. And then, as he appears to his disciples, right before he ascends into heaven, he says, I am leaving, but my Spirit I give to you. He gives us the Holy Spirit so that God will constantly be with his believers. Just think about the significance of that. Let it sink into your hearts. See, Jesus' coming was anything but common. And it has become too much of a common thought amongst Christians today. So again, I would encourage you, let that weigh on your hearts.